up, that he will draw all men unto himself. And so our job is to lift him up with all of our hearts. And I just think it helps so much when we've been doing it all week long. As a worship leader, sometimes every service is different, and I can feel sometimes where folks are at. And I can feel sometimes when it's been a hard week, and when it takes us 4 or 5 songs to kind of get into a place of worshiping Him. What if we showed up at church on Saturdays and Sundays, and whenever we showed up, ready to go, full of the glory of God? It's just a thought. So we've talked about heaven. We've talked about bringing that into our everyday lives and accessing heaven. And now I want to just spend a couple of minutes that I have left talking about what happens when we get together. I had the privilege of, I get to lead and have in the past led in a lot of different church environments. And it's just it's so blessed because I just get to see how different people worship. But I remember leading in this one service one time a few years back where there was a guy in the front row who had his arms crossed and he was scowling at me. He was just staring me down. And after the service, I kind of wanted to avoid him because I wasn't sure, what he might do. He came up to me, he had tears in his eyes. And he said, "Man, I just wanted to say, I'm so proud of you. That was amazing, and you just really touched my heart." And I wanted to say, well, you should have told your face, because I thought you wanted to kill me. I really did. I really did. Sometimes we have trouble. It's all about our hearts. Worshiping the Lord is all about our heart with the Lord, but He does give us some instructions on how to bring it up out of our heart into our face and our actions. And so I want to spend a few minutes just talking about 7 of those ways that the Bible talks about. Different ways, 7 biblical ways the Lord invites us to worship. And so we'll just run right through these. First one is in Psalm 123, verse 1. It says, "Unto you I lift up my eyes, O you who dwell in the heavens." Unto you I lift up my eyes, O you who dwell in the heavens. There's a lot of hard stuff going on in the world. And a lot of times it can just weigh. The Bible talks about a spirit of heaviness. And a lot of times it weighs on us. It weighs on our face. It weighs on our countenance. It weighs on our eyes. And our eyes sometimes can find the ground easier than they can the sky. And I love that little saying, keep your chin up. And I don't think it has biblical origins, but I think it applies in this particular instance, where we lift up our eyes to the Lord and we see Him, and we know that if we get a glimpse of Him, that we're changed forever. And so one of the ways we can worship the Lord when we come together, or anytime really, is just to lift up our eyes to Him. The eyes say so much about where we are. And lifting our eyes up to Him is a wonderful thing. My friend Brenton, you guys know, the worship leader guy, sometimes when he leads worship, he'll raise the microphone way up and bring the microphone here and then push the microphone down right here. So he's leading the worship like this the whole time. And I saw that for the first time, and I thought, what is he doing? And then I realized he's keeping his eyes lifted up to the Lord, which is an awesome picture of just as we walk about our lives and whether we eat, drink, or whatever we do, doing all for the glory of God, that just His happiness and the lifting of our eyes would be something that we'd find ourselves doing. There's a big mountain near our house, and I find myself all the time lifting up my eyes to the hills, because that's where my help comes from, in the Lord. Second one of my favorites, Psalm 134:2. It says, "Lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless the Lord." This one always makes everybody nervous. It makes me nervous. Anybody else nervous in here about lifting up your hands in the sanctuary? I'm nervous just talking about it. I grew up in the Baptist world. I'm a 4th generation Baptist believer guy. I'm so blessed to have that many generations of people that I get to stand on their shoulders. And we struggled with this in my hometown church. And I don't want to say anything negative, but we struggled with this, We had the feeling that there were these people that didn't exist, but we thought they existed, called the Usher Mafia. That if we lifted our hands in church, they would come and tap you on the shoulder and want to speak to you outside because, we want to talk to you about that, lifting of the hands sort of thing. So I didn't do that much when I was a kid. I was scared to death of it. And can you guys feel my pain at all? Or is it okay? So I went to this Baptist church when I lived in Texas, and they were okay with everybody raising their hands. And so I said, I thought, well, I think I'm going to give this a shot. So I'm in the sanctuary, and people are worshiping around me. I'm doing an eye check and making sure nobody's looking. And I bring my hands up right up to half-mast, we'll call it. And I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, okay, for sure, they just swung 2 cameras around on me, and they're beaming me right to CNN, and we've got a guy in Texas who's lifting up his hands, because I was so self-conscious about it. And I looked around, and nobody was looking at me. Yeah, imagine that. It wasn't about me. Unbelievable. I thought it was about me. No, it's not about me. It's about the Lord. So, okay. So I started understanding what it meant to just lift my hands to the Lord and how free and wonderful that was. And I'm not saying you have to do this at all. Please don't hear me saying that. But if the Lord prompts you and wants you to express yourself in that way to Him, it's amazing to lift your hands to the Lord and just say, Oh Lord, you're amazing. You're awesome. You're my daddy. It's almost like a child wanting his daddy to pick him up, Or like, I'm just going to plug into you, God, because you're awesome. Or I just adore you. I worship you. You're awesome. You're amazing. Wow, that was life-changing for me. So, could be for you. Maybe it's not for you. Again, the fact that it's a command, I'm not even going to mention that in here. The next one is Psalm 95, verse 6. It says, "O come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker." Come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. I love that at different times Byron's been having us kneel in the sanctuary together, because I just think that is so powerful. And I wanted to encourage you to consider once a day, if you can, if you're physically able, to just kneel before the Lord. Because He is the King of kings. He is the Lord of lords. And we live in a democratic society, and I'm so glad we do. But we're further removed from what it means to come before a king, and how awesome that is. And how what the king says is what we do. We are His subjects. We are the ones that do His bidding. We get to exist in His kingdom. And so coming before and bowing before the Lord is an awesome way to just say, you know what, Lord, your way. I don't understand. I don't know how I'm supposed to get through this next day. I'm on my knees. You know, Lord. You know. Bowing before Him. It helps us understand that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The right kind of fear. We don't fear Him as someone who's going to hurt us, but someone who is awesome. As all of our fathers have said when we're bad, I brought you into this world and I can take you out. He's got that card. He doesn't play it. That's not His heart. But He is powerful, and He is the King. And so I want to encourage you to bow as often as you can before Him. The next one, number 4, Habakkuk 2:20. This is one that I wish I could teach my kids, but it's hopeless.